I was debating should I make a video about this or not, and right now I decided I would. It's about, like, what if I die today, what will I leave to my kids? And so I created like a 16 things they should know. Like, it's gonna be longer than that, but I just had like I think I spent like 30 minutes writing this, so I'm gonna read you those 16 things, and then that's going to be it for this video. It's gonna be really short, but it basically like this this is the 16 things, you know I'm gonna share them. So the number one thing, probably the most important, is everything that goes wrong is your fault. That means take responsibility for life. Just based, it doesn't mean like be self-deprecating, like self-destructive, it just means take responsibility for, not only your fault, but also for your team and for other circumstances that you can control. I'm sorry, ADD. The second one, everything that's happening today is based on what you did yesterday. Basically, it doesn't mean exactly yesterday, it means in the past. So it means like if you eat candy and McDonald's and bad food, every day, then you're gonna have a big stomach, or you're gonna have a heart attack, or high blood pressure, something like that. So everything is going today is based on what you did yesterday. The third one, if you don't believe in yourself, why would they believe in you? I think this is, self-explanatory. The fourth one is, if you want to become an anomaly, act like one. So most people do what everybody does, but want to have extraordinary, life. And I'm just like, baffled by, like, how do you want to have extraordinary is a one word, not as a two word, extraordinary life, if you just sit around and do nothing. The fifth one is, if you are not interested, that's the seventh one. If you're not excited to wake up, you're doing something wrong. So the first time I did my, Facebook ads for the book campaign I was doing, I was so excited to see my result that I have woken up, I think 2 or 3 hours before the alarm clock. And back then I was waking up at 9, so I woke up at 6. I was just so excited to see my numbers, and that meant I was doing something right. And do you wake up before your alarm clock? If the answer is no, if you're not excited, if you're like, mom, 5 more minutes, if you like turn around and continue sleeping, then you're doing something wrong in your life. The sixth one is optimize for interesting. Most people, if they optimize their life, they optimize it for the money, not for being interested. So I don't care about how much money I'm gonna make, I care about how much fun I'm gonna have. I think Avicii died today, and one of his videos, the night or whatever, like the night as the dark, not the night as a soldier. It says like about that, like he doesn't care about the money, he cares about the, how his life is interesting. So, in memory of Avicii, optimize your life for being interested, not the money you make, but the life I live. Something like that it goes. The seventh one, if you're interested, people are interesting. If you're boring, people are boring, and vice versa. It means if you are interesting person, if you did a lot of cool things, then you will attract people who did the same. And if you're boring, you're gonna attract boring people. But it also means if your friends are boring, then you will become boring. So I'm the same person towards everyone. But somehow 80% of my crazy adventure stories happen with one person, with my best friend Marceline, and she's really interesting person. She went, I think she visited for continents, not countries, continents, and spent several weeks or month in each of those continents. So she has interesting stories, and in her main continent, she also traveled and hiked and jumped and did this and did that. So she has really interesting life. And when I'm hanging out with her, all of the time something crazy is going on, like something is happening. But on the other side, when I'm hanging out with somebody who just wants to play video games or drink coffee or gossip, then no matter how many times I hang out with that person, we do something boring. And I'm the same person, but how can I being, always bombarded with adventures when I'm with her, and I have zero adventures when I'm with him? That's because he's boring and she's interesting, and that means like they're pulling you. If they're interested, they're gonna pull you to be more interesting, to have more interesting life, and then you're gonna attract more interesting people who's gonna, just gonna go better and better. So 8 is who's got my money, and again, this doesn't mean who's got my money as person who stole your money. It means if you're selling a product, figure out who's your customer, who's your perfect customer, and then once you figure that out, then you will have the highest conversion. For me, if I want to become, let's say, publish it in a local newspaper, I have to figure out who's the person who I have to pitch, my article to be published in the local newspaper. And that person has my mind, like not exactly the money as money, but he has what I want, and then what it doesn't say, but it implies, and then do whatever it takes, which is one of the next one, but it comes later. So 9th one is, are you dreaming big enough? What I often find is when I'm not excited to do a project is because I just didn't dream enough. Like imagine, like when I say, well, by the end of this year, I wanna be able to do 10 push-ups. Like I already can do 30, conservative, I can do more, but let's say 30 in one, go. So I'm not excited for that project. But if I say I wanna do 100 in a sec, like 100 in one go, which was my goal last summer, and I was able to do 70, not 17, 70 in one go. So that was pretty excited. So I was working on that at least 3 times a week. And no matter how tired I was, I never skipped a day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was doing push-ups, and then Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I was doing pull-ups. Never skipped push-ups. Pull-ups sometimes, but push-ups never, because I had huge goal. Like that was really, really something crazy. And on that, I was like, but I have to do it in 4 months, not in 4 years, in 4 months. And everybody says, Timo, there's no way you can do it. And I was like, guys, I'm just gonna try. And I was really, really close, like really, really close to doing it. Like if I have cut down the hours I was working, instead of working 21 hours a day, maybe a little bit less, then like I wasn't working every day 21 hours, but I did have 21 hours work day. Usually it was 18 hours, but still, like it was a lot of 18 is still a lot, like yeah, it's not crazy as 21, but it's still a lot. So if I was working a little bit less than 18, maybe 16 or 14, I would be like 90% sure I would be able to do 100 push-ups in a go. But I'll try this summer. Like, and you're probably asking, Timo, why are you waiting for some? Why are you not doing it right now? In 2 essay, that's an excellent question. I don't know why I'm postponing. That's an excuse. That's why. The reason is that's an excuse. So the 10th one is, how bad do you want it? Like, do you want it more than relaxing on a beach? Do you want it more than going out tonight? Do you want it more than watching a movie? Do you want it more than hanging out with your friends? So how bad do you want it is the question. So now the 11th one is, do whatever it takes. You know, if you have to call everybody, if you have to knock on a door, if you have to, you know, clean garage for that person, do whatever it takes to get that job or whatever. 11th one is, who is your mentor? Who is your mentor? Because they are going to make or break your world. You know, like everything you see here, all these books and others, nothing would have happened if I didn't have that one mentor. And you know, I don't spend enough time with him. You know, like every time I talk to my mentor, like I'm just like, I just learned in this hour more than people learn in a year. Like, no wonder I'm making so much progress so fast. So that's why, because he already been through what I'm going through now, so he can give me the shortcut. He can tell me, this is not working, this is working, and this is how you can improve. And then I just do the improved version, and I'm just like going twice the speed, or maybe even more than twice. And then later, when I become, you know, like good enough, then I'll become a mentor somebody else. By the way, my mentor told me that there is one guy he met that like approached him the same way I did with the book, something similar to I did. Like basically, like it happened almost exactly what I did, just 2 years later. And he started laughing. He's like, 2 years ago, one kid from Serbia did exactly the same thing you did right now. I'll give him his number. Like his, you know, he was 2 years ago where you right now. Like he can mentor you a bit. And I was like, I'm not sure I'm ready to become a mentor, but I can at least recommend some of the books he should read, and then maybe like that's good enough for now. And then dominate, don't compete. Basically, make sure you're crushing it. You know, like if I say, well, I'm just gonna be 10th good, you know, like it just doesn't matter. When I go play basketball, was like, well, I'm just gonna be like the 4th best player in my team. The 4th best player in my team sits on the bench and doesn't play games. So don't be the 4th best player in the team. Be the number 1 player in the team. Be the captain of the team, so you will play all of the game. And not only that, be the best in the basketball court, so you can play all the games. So you can be picked at all the time. So you can pick people who you want to play. Let's forget everything else, just pause on this one, so I'll give you a few more seconds to think about it, so you can pick the people you want to play with. Again, so you can pick the people you want to play with. I'm sure 100% that you sometime played or worked in a team and you just don't want to be the one person. That's because you're not the best. That's because you're not the captain. That's because you're not the leader, because you were not dominating beforehand, so that's why you weren't given the right to pick. 13 is, if you don't have time, make it. And the don't have time was in the air quotes, was in the quotes, because we all have time, we're just wasting it. You know, every time you go to a restaurant and you pull up the phone, that's 2 minutes more wasted at least. at least. Some people spend more. And then you go to a restroom at least 10 times, that's 20 minutes. Just on that. Just on that. And if you work on your dream 20 minutes every single day, I bet you in a year you could accomplish a lot. Only 20 minutes in a day. And you said you don't have time. The 14th one is what's next. What's next could be defined in business or in life. So what's next step? But let's say in a business you're selling a product and I'm selling you this thing right over here. So what's next? What's the next thing you're gonna need? Well, you're probably gonna need this bad boy. So I'm gonna sell you this one as well. So the price of customer, how much money I had to pay Facebook to bring you here to buy this book, or whatever this is, I got you to buy this and this. So this one was, better deal for me because I didn't have to bring you twice. And then I ask you, well, what's next? The next would probably be the thing, so you can leave it over here so it stands, so you don't need to hold it. So I sold you 3 things and I just had to pay once for Facebook to bring you over here. That's called an upsell. And in life it could also be, the same thing you do right now. And what's the next thing that you're going to do? Make sure if you can try to chain those so that one feeds off another. So that's what it's meant by what's next. The 15th is first thing first, meaning most important, do in the morning. And the 16th, the last one, is the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. I know it's a lot of main things. Basically mean the most important thing is to keep the most important thing the most important thing. I'm just kidding. It means when you have the hierarchy of what's important and what's not, when you have what's priority 0 and priority 1 and 2 and 3, usually people do tasks that are priority 2 instead of priority 0. That's what they do. They misprioritize the work, and that's what's important. The main thing, what's the most important thing, make sure you do that, and then everything else if you have time. Not everything else and then if you have time for the most important thing, because that's what makes it fun, that's what makes you happy, excited, and everything above is that main thing, not everything else. Doesn't matter if you watch the new episode of Arrow we just released today, right now, instead of working on this, or you finish this and then if you have time watch the Arrow. If not, you'll just watch it tomorrow. You're not gonna die if you don't watch Arrow today. So that's why keep the main thing the main thing. You know what, I just plan on reading those and having a 5 minutes video, but I guess it's turned to be a 18.5 minute video. Thank you for watching. I see you tomorrow. Bye bye.